All right. What is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I need everybody to just do me a favor here, real quick. Everybody stand up. We could all rise together here in a standing ovation for Trevor Lane, Lakers Nation, taking some time. If I wasn't boxed into a corner here, Trev, I would also be given the standing go. But, our people will stand up. They're all standing up. What's going on, Trev?
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate you having me on here. And as trying as the times are right now, I'm excited to get to talk Lakers basketball with you.
There you go. No, I appreciate it. We'll have a good time. I know we'll do a solid about half hour or so just talking Lakers basketball. I appreciate the time as always. Man, what an interesting, how do we describe this? What an interesting just week or so. I'll ask you this just right out the gate. I know we got a lot to get into in game 3 and everything else, but when you think of some of the worst Laker losses, I got a couple that come into mind right away. So as long as you've been a fan, where does Monday kind of fit into the mold there?
It's up there, man. It's up there. I mean, we think about like 2008. That wasn't fun. There's no question about
24.
That. Yeah.
I had tickets to game 5 and game 4, they were up 24. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to be tied 2 apiece. Right. And then it all unfolded. So I was basically just going to a 3-1 Celtics lead. I was like, oh, I took out the fun there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's stuff like that that's a killer. But this one, when you add in the context, right, having lost the previous 9 games to this team, and in, gut-wrenching fashion, where each time you feel okay, and then 5 minutes or so left in the fourth, 8 minutes left in the fourth, whatever, Denver goes on a run where they score 8 out of 10 possessions that they've got, 9 out of 10 or whatever. And the Lakers just kind of stumble, trip, and fall and land flat on their face on their own offensive possessions. All of that context added up to this was a big deal that, hey, this time they're going to win this game. It's a big deal. You're going to get a win over them. It's going to turn the series. Your confidence is going to get picked up, all of that. So then to lose that game the way that they did it, I mean, I think that's got to be up there with one of the worst things that I think we've seen happen in sports from the Lakers' perspective, of course.
Sure.
Beyond, obviously, there's been tragedies and things like that, but in terms of actual gameplay on the field, I think that was the worst thing, one of the worst things that we've seen happen in sports, period.
Yeah, it's funny when you put it that way, because from a Laker fan perspective, by the way, it is the most ridiculous thing for us to say that because the Lakers have had so much success.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I'm with you that wasn't just a regular loss, right? That wasn't just a regular playoff loss. That was a gut punch like you could possibly get up 20. Look, there's a few things we're going to get into. So if you're out hanging out, we appreciate it. Trevor Lane, obviously, of Lakers Nation, hanging out here. Couple things I'm just going to really quickly get into from game 2, and then we'll start turning the page to game 3. Lakers talked a little bit earlier. Trev, I'll get your thoughts on the comments from Anthony Davis post-game. Darvin Ham responding to that a little bit later or a little bit earlier today. If you guys are out there and you want to comment, Super Chat obviously available, and please subscribe to the channel here and Lakers Nation as well. So I'll ask this one first because I know we're going to have to turn the page on game 2 specifically tomorrow, but we'll do it tonight as well. In your opinion, your thoughts, just the second half of that game against the Denver Nuggets as we turn the page and completely move on. What are some of the things that stood out to you the most? What are the things that either are more frustrating or even, hey, if they can stop doing this, it will help them in game 3?
Well, I think it was their inability to adapt to the changes that we saw the Nuggets make. So the Nuggets, they're going to make adjustments. I mean, they're a good team. That's what they do. And Mike Malone made an adjustment. He moved Aaron Gordon over on the Anthony Davis. And the Lakers struggled to adjust to the adjustments, a counterpunch off of that. And you saw a period in the third quarter there where things got very disorganized, as Anthony Davis talked about after the game. I don't think there's any debate that it was disorganized. It looked sloppy. They started settling for jumpers. They looked like they weren't sure what it was that they were supposed to be doing, what the solution was. And that's got to change. That's got to change. You've got to see, you can't, against the Denver Nuggets, you can't have any stretch of the game where you're not sure what you need to execute on the offensive end or what you're trying to execute on the defensive end of the floor. You can't do that. They've got to do a better job finishing at the rim. Typically they do. I think it was just a bad night. They got a good night, though, in a lot of other ways in terms of D'Lo scoring, AD scoring, things. It kind of feels like you wasted some of those great performances there. So I think in general, they have to be a little bit more careful with their offensive opportunities because you know that you have to take advantage of all of them because the Nuggets are that good. And if you make any mistakes, they will capitalize on it. So if you don't cherish every single offensive opportunity that you get, if you don't focus on trying to get a good shot each time, it can cost you in the end. And I think it did in this one. Those are things that I think you have to take away. You can't let any offensive possessions go to waste. And you have to be able to think on your feet and adapt and adjust to what Denver throws at you. I thought the Nuggets adjusted very well to what the Lakers were doing midway through the game, and the Lakers weren't able to counter that on the fly.
Is it as simple as, I mean, I think what you just said is it's a perfect description. Michael Malone, I don't think it's a coincidence that they're able to make the adjustments in the second half and all of a sudden the game changes. Is it just as simple as one coach is making the adjustments and the other coach doesn't have a counter punch? And I think that's part of my frustration with Darvin Ham. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it feel like Michael Malone has a plan A, B, C, D? Whatever you throw at him, he's going to counter with something. And I felt like, with Darvin, and maybe I'm being too critical on him. I don't think I am, and I think a lot of Laker fans feel that way as well. I didn't really see, okay, what were they doing? What was different in the second half that they were doing to say, okay, now that the Denver Nuggets are doing this, we're going to do that? Is it as simple as the coach, or do you think there's more to it than that?
No, I think that is it. I think it is the coach. I think that it's look, you can make the argument that some of it's on the players too, right? LeBron James is one of the best basketball minds we've ever seen. Anthony Davis is a veteran, been around for a long time. These guys should be able to read what's going on the floor and say, oh, that they're doing that. Okay, then we're gonna do this, and this. Sure. Here's the counter to that. They should be able to do that. But ultimately, it's the coach's responsibility. It rolls up under the responsibilities of Darvin Ham and his staff. And when you talk about Michael Malone, yeah, he talked about that earlier today. In fact, he talked about how they've got plans for what the Lakers could do, and that a lot of it they haven't even had to use yet. Because they already know, hey, if the Lakers do this, this is how we're going to respond. It doesn't feel like the Lakers have that. And this rolls up onto the conversation of the timeout usage or lack thereof. There's moments where I've been using the analogy, Darvin Ham needs to be driving the car. He needs to have his hands on the steering wheel at 10-2 and steering the direction that the car is going. In the third quarter there, it felt like his hands were off the steering wheel. When the team was floundering, team struggling to generate looks on offense, they're not scoring the basketball. Again, it was later on in the third because they did go on a run for the first part. But once the Nuggets made the adjustment, that's where it's the coach's job to step in, use a timeout, novel concept, use a timeout and say, hey, guys, this is what we're seeing. They're doing this and this, so we're going to respond by doing this, and this is going to get us this shot. He's got to be able to see the path through. And right now, I don't think we're seeing that. I think it's the Nuggets make a change. Oh, no, what do we do? I don't know. We can't figure it out. Maybe try this. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you're stuck watching a game like this. I'm probably being too critical because I know there's some adjustments that they can make. And we assume that an adjustment that doesn't work equals no adjustment. And that's not really fair. But it's his job. It's his job to figure it out and figure out how to adapt.
Trev, I mean, if we're here in the playoffs, and this isn't the first time you and I have brought this up. I'm sure it's not the first time you've done with all the content that you put out there that you got question marks around. Hey, what's the scheme here? What's the game plan here? What are they? How are they counterpunching? If we don't feel good about it right now, I don't see that that's going to change. I just don't. And I love your analogy of, I feel like he's in the driver's seat and he's not holding the steering wheel. There are moments I thought he was in the passenger seat. He was behind. It's like
I'm sure Lakers fans will put him in the trunk at this point.
basically it's an SUV with a third row. I thought he was in the third row for that entire third and fourth quarter. I don't know if it's going to change, brother. And I think this it kind of leads me to this. And I thought it was one of the most interesting quotes I've ever heard listening to a post-game show was Anthony Davis was talking about Darvin Ham. We all know the quote. There are times where we don't know what we're doing on both sides of the floor. And Ham did get a chance to respond to that. And I just want to read this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So AD had said, let's see here. We have stretches where we just don't know what we're doing on both ends of the floor. Darvin Ham got a chance to comment on that today. He said, I just think sometimes when plays don't turn out the way you think they should, then the frustration sets in a little bit. But I don't think it's not us being organized. I think I have incredibly talented coaches all along my staff. We pride ourselves, whether it's practice, shoot around, a film session, a game, or whatever we pride ourselves in, on being highly efficient and organized. I just chalk that up to being frustrated. It's an emotional game. That's the way it ended. But I'll agree to disagree on that one. I think my biggest takeaway from that, Trev, and I want to get your opinion on this, the fact that quote happened with Anthony Davis and the fact that Darvin Ham leading into game 3 is saying basically that's his opinion. I agree, or I disagree with that. That's not a good look. You know what I mean? Just the overall optics of it. Do you think the Denver Nuggets aren't sitting there right now and saying, wait, let me get this right. So Anthony Davis, imagine if Jamal Murray had a quote like that and it's angled towards Michael Malone. Imagine if Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, better example, there's a lot of magnitude to that. Like, I don't think that's a small thing that you got your coach and one of the best players in the world that clearly see on different sides of things. What'd you make of some of the Darvin Ham comments to address it?
Yeah, I was not super thrilled with them. I mean, look, coaches tend to stick up for other coaches and things, and they feel like they're being, under fire. You're going to get defensive. I mean, look, we even saw a couple weeks ago, right? They went to Memphis and Taylor Jenkins raved about the job Darvin Ham is doing, and everybody got upset. Why is he defending this? Because coaches tend to protect other coaches, and that's the way it goes. But I think there was a better way to handle that question. It probably would have involved something like, but AD is correct in that we've got to make sure that we're playing mistake-free basketball or something, and we need to make sure we all hold each other accountable. There were better ways to answer that than just, I disagree with what Anthony Davis is saying, because here's the thing. Even if you think it's organized, if Anthony Davis, who is actually on the floor playing the game, says it feels disorganized and people don't know what they're doing, then that's an issue that has to be addressed. You can't dismiss that and say, well, no, actually, he's wrong. We just disagree. No, he's on the floor. And it's not like he's a rookie out there who's confused. It's not like it's the meme where it's LeBron talking to Austin Reeves and he's confused. It's Anthony Davis. Crazy. It's crazy.
It is. And I interrupted you there on that rant. No, just when you were saying I'm with you as like, this is Anthony Davis that we're referring to. It's funny because I thought I was kind of waiting for this. I'm like, when is this going to be addressed? Because obviously Darvin Ham speaks first, then Anthony Davis comes after in the post-game show. They had yesterday off. All right, here we are. We're today, right? So the day before this game, I don't think that really clarifies anything. And I think, for me, this is part of what is discouraging so far about the series. Lakers were the underdogs anyway, so I don't think anybody's questioning that. But I think you had 2 games. One game you're up 12, another game you're up 20. Had real opportunities to win that game on Monday. It's how they lost the game. It's the complaining about the referees from everybody right after the game. It's AD's quote directly geared towards the coaching staff. Listen, I know it's first 1-4, and obviously Lakers are going to have to try to figure this out for tomorrow's game. But just the optics of where we're sitting today, it's really, really tough to look at the situation Lakers are in against an opponent, the defending champions of the Denver Nuggets, and feel good about the situation in really any regard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough spot to be in. You were going to be in a tough spot no matter what. And now you've got, these questions about, is the team organized? Are they not? Are the guys don't know what they're doing out there? And that's, if AD had just been saying that and the team had been playing great, we'd be like, okay, well, maybe he feels a little disorganized, but they're winning. And you can see there's some, method to the madness here. We saw them fall to pieces. So what AD was saying was backed up by the eye test. And so that's a problem that's got to be solved and not dismissed. They're in a tough spot. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm really curious about what we're going to see from them. Does this hurdle number one, before we get into what adjustments do they need to make? Do they need to change their lineups? Is it the X's and O's? Should they be running different plays? Do we change defensive assignments? Hurdle number one, it's do they believe? Do they think they can beat this team? D'Angelo Russell put a message out the other day. I think it was on Discord, actually, where he said, something effective, we're still going to win, believe in us, something like paraphrasing, but something like that. But does the team really believe that? Do they really believe they can win the series? Because if the answer is no, Alan, we're going to find out in game 3. We're going to find out pretty quick. And that will be that. That will be the end. Right. The Denver Nuggets will take them out, and it'll be done. If they believe, though, then we're going to see, okay, now the adjustments can become a factor. But the first hurdle, they have to believe they can beat this team. And after losing the way that they did, I don't think that's a certainty. There's a mental hurdle that you have to get past when you lose a game like that.
Yeah, and I think there's also part of the problem with the Lakers is they've really lacked any opportunity to gain any momentum of beating Denver. And every time you feel like, oh my gosh, they have shot. And this goes back to last year in the playoffs. It goes back to the regular season, and it's played out in these first 2 games in the postseason as well. There's a lot of times where you feel like, okay, couple minutes left in the game. We got a ball game here. And then Denver just does what they do. And I know, game 1 that followed more to that script. Game 2 was different because it was back and forth. Lakers went up by 8 after Braun handled some business. Denver came back. Lakers would go up by 2. Denver would come back. So it was that was more of just a really good basketball game. Unfortunately, Lakers were down 20. I spent a little time yesterday. I was doing my radio show, and I feel like a lot of Laker fans, I think a decent amount, I don't think they agreed with me on this, but I want to get your opinion on this. We all know what happened in game 2 with Anthony Davis, kind of a late game situation where in that fourth quarter, for 3 quarters, he was literally as good as you could possibly be. But I talked about how it's not just what you do, it's when you do it. And that I like to call it money time. That there are certain players, when the money's on the line, they're going to deliver. Nikola Jokic delivered. Jamal Murray delivered clearly in game 2. LeBron was excellent in game 2. And I'm talking about in the fourth quarter. At the end of that game, they delivered. Why? And maybe that goes back to some of the AD quotes that, we were just talking about. But I have a very, very difficult time. I talked about one of the most frustrating things for me in game 2 was I don't feel like Anthony Davis was even on the floor in the last 12 minutes. What is your take on that? Or how do you feel about Anthony Davis not imposing his will in that type of a game? I hear a lot of people say, well, the coach has got to put him in a position to succeed and LeBron's got to feed him. He's Anthony freaking Davis. I don't think he needs, to get approval to ask for the ball or anything like that. What do you make of AD in that final quarter?
So I would have to, I would need to go back and rewatch to see exactly where the Nuggets were sending like a double from and things like that. I have not rewatched that game because
sure,
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to myself.
I get it.
But I'll say this. This is when AD's having that kind of a game and he's on a heater. The Nuggets made the defensive switch because AD was destroying Jokic by attacking him, right? They're putting Jokic in pick and roll and they're going, right? And so they put Jokic over on Rui so that if the screen is coming from AD and he's screening for LeBron, then it's just Gordon and it's an easy switch, right?
Sure.
So that's what the Nuggets did. But that's where the counter needs to be, okay, cool. You're going to put Aaron Gordon on AD? fine. AD is going to torch Aaron Gordon too.
Here's how we're going to attack him.
Going to stop him. Yeah, exactly. Now, I think they need to be more deliberate about feeding AD the ball. The Nuggets probably, if I'm Mike Malone, I am sending the double, and I'm countering that. I'm not putting, as the Lakers did to Rui Hachimura, I'm not putting Aaron Gordon on an island. The Lakers put Rui Hachimura in the middle of the floor and said, "Go defend Jokic," and Jokic destroyed him, as you would expect him to. I'm not doing that to Aaron Gordon if I'm Denver. I'm probably going to send a double, in which case Anthony Davis is going to have to kick out and guys are going to have to make some open shots. But the bottom line is correct, Alan, that you can't just go away from Anthony Davis. Not when he's having the kind of game that he's got, and not when the jumpers have stopped falling and you're struggling so badly to score the basketball. You can't just forget for stretches that Anthony Davis is out there.
Trev, how much is that on? How much is that on him? Because I think that's my point.
AD's got to be a bit more demonstrative and say, "Give me the ball," right? I mean, some of that has got to be on Anthony Davis. I mean, look, LeBron sure as hell isn't going to get frozen out of a game, right?
Sure.
The ball will find him. If he makes the conscious choice that I'm going to be a passer or whatever, that's different. But the ball's not going to just not touch LeBron's hands the way it does with AD. He has to be a bit more aggressive and assertive in that sense. But that's also got to be on the Lakers to realize, hey, these pull-up contested jumpers aren't working for us. This, try a couple of high screens, freelance stuff that's generating nothing isn't working for us. Let's run something. Even if the Nuggets are trying to take away AD, great. Let's let them double, and we're going to pass out of it, and then we're going to attack, and let's do something from there. They have to keep Anthony Davis involved. You can't go away from him for that long, regardless of what the Nuggets are throwing at him.
My problem with AD, and I think it's his responsibility more than anybody else. You're not wrong. Bron's got the ball in his hands a lot. Darvin Ham, that's up to him to run sets and run plays. But when I think of the best big men in the NBA right now, I won't go back to Shaq and Tim Duncan. I won't talk about it. I'm talking about the best big men in the NBA. Giannis is not looking for an approval to get the ball. Neither is Joel Embiid. Neither is Nikola Jokic. That doesn't mean that they're just going to take every shot, but I'd rather see Anthony Davis go 1 for 10 or 0 for 10 in the fourth quarter than 0 for 1. And I think that's the part that kind of drives me crazy. It's like, guy's not even getting to the free throw line. He's not even attempting to. And this is not forcing shots. This is the Lakers desperate to have offense. I mean, they scored, I think in the final 10-minute mark of the third quarter to the rest of the game, scored 31 points total. So this is a team that you pick, whatever choices that you have on offense, your team is struggling. AD was obviously cooking earlier. I guess that's my only point. I think there's not – I point the finger at AD first before anybody else, knowing that it's not just his responsibility, but I feel like it's more important for him to establish himself than anybody else.
Yeah, he looked like, for the first half of that game, amazing. I mean, if like an MVP. He looked like an MVP. Incredible. He was unstoppable. He looked like the 2020 Anthony Davis. And for him to go from, 24 points in the first half to 8 in the second half, you can't do that. And I don't care what scheme changes the Denver Nuggets are making. There's times where Anthony Davis has to say, "You're putting Aaron Gordon on me. Give me the ball. I'm scoring because I'm that much better than you." Yeah, and that's it.
And again, AD's not selfish, but the Lakers were not scoring. So it was even more highlighted because literally they couldn't get any buckets. Okay, I want to run into a couple more things here. We have got a chance to watch a Lakers bench that has a total of 17 points in 2 games. And all 17 are just from Taurean Prince. He had a game where he had 11 and a game that he had 6. Let me kind of bunch everybody together, role players and bunch bench players. So put Rui in there, Austin Reeves. Who are you looking at right now and saying, damn, I wasn't expecting that. I thought the Lakers were going to get a lot more from this individual player. Just some of the players that you're disappointed with that you feel like if they're not showing up, how the hell are the Lakers going to win?
Well, it's been a different group, I think, to a degree when we look at the starters. Game 1, it was D'Angelo Russell with the stinker performance. Game 2, it was Rui Hachimura. Austin's been interesting. I've seen a lot of fans upset with him. I think he's been pretty solid defensively, the offensive game hasn't really been there. He's got to get the offense going, especially because, D'Lo's not going to shoot 7 of 11 from 3 every single night. Just not going to happen. So you need Austin Reeves to get going. But the bench in general, I think looking at Spencer Dinwiddie and Gabe Vincent, no shots taken in game 1. No shots made. I think they were 0 for 3 combined in game 2. You have to get something out of them. You have to get
Dinwiddie looks scared. Dinwiddie looks so hesitant.
And Alan, it's that point where I've got people saying, well, okay, if you're not getting any offensive production out of these guys anyway, and Gabe's done some good things defensively, but at that point, what if, as they're saying, he looks scared or nervous or whatever? Okay, isn't that your fear about not putting Max Christie into the game? That sure. He might be nervous, right? That he's a younger player and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but he's also the best 3-point shooter of the group that can space the floor. So if you're getting nervy performances out of the veterans, put the kid in there.
Take my chances.
Right? Why not? Try something there. Especially Denver sure as hell hasn't scouted him. So figure out what you can do there and try to just mix things up a little bit. I think that you may have to consolidate the minutes. I don't think they're going to go to Max Christie. That would probably be my choice, but I think you're going to need to consolidate the minutes and go to either Gabe Vincent or Spencer Dinwiddie and say, look, here's your chance to get into a rhythm and play a little bit more by playing all of the backup guard minutes. And if I had to pick between the two right now, I would go Gabe Vincent.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and that's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of funny. I think we both fall on the same page in that. And I really thought, man, buyout market happened. I really thought I was excited about Dinwiddie. I seen enough of him in Dallas, seen enough of him with the Nets where you thought, damn, that's a nice little pickup. That's a good fit for the playoffs. That has not been the case at all here. Okay, Trevor, a couple more here. And then I know you got to go do your thing, and I'll stay on. By the way, so I'm going to hang out. I know we got a lot of comments here that I want to get into, so we'll keep going. But Game 3 is tomorrow. Can you help paint a picture and a path of what the Lakers, what you're hoping to see tomorrow to grab a win? Because I think, Trev, it's so overwhelming to say you got to get 4 out of 5. It's like, all right, well, yeah, I don't even want to have that conversation. How about you just get one win against the Denver Nuggets and then take your chances from there? For you, what are you looking for in tomorrow night's matchup?
So tomorrow night's game, first and foremost, as I was talking about earlier, I want to see the fight. I want to see the will to win, the will to go out there and compete and fight and not just go, well, we threw our best punch last game and we still lost. So that's,
can I ask you this? Do you think, are you questioning that at all? Do you think there is a little, do you have some hesitancy that fight and will be there?
I do. Yeah. I mean, they've lost 10 straight times to this team. It's in frustrating fashion, and it keeps playing out a similar way where they can't execute down the stretch and the Nuggets do. So I do question whether or not they have that. And I hope that they do. I hope they go out there and they show right from the opening tip. And I think the crowd has got to be on their side. And it's these two things are related. The crowd has to have something to cheer about.
Sure.
But the LA crowd needs to be on their side, needs to get them fired up. And we need to see this team fight. That's first and foremost what I want to see. After that, it's about not beating yourself, because the Nuggets aren't going to go away. They're not going to beat themselves. Every time you give the Nuggets an opportunity, they're going to say thank you, and they're going to put points on the board.
Sure.
They're going to do that. So for the Lakers, it's about cutting down their mistakes. And it's impossible in a basketball game to eliminate all mistakes. But can you get rid of a few of the bad mistakes that you made? D'Lo's probably not going to shoot 7 of 11 again, but can Austin shoot 3 of 6 in this one from deep? You can, in the aggregate, you can make up for some of that. It's number one about willpower. Number two, can you play smarter? Because that's what you're going to have to do to beat Denver. I'm watching for those two things. Again, if number one doesn't happen, nothing else matters. But if number one happens, it's a matter of playing smarter throughout the rest of the game. If you can do that, you can get a win. And like you said, get one, and then you figure out the next game after that.
Yeah, literally, there's no other way to approach it. If you get one W against the Denver Nuggets, then you know what? There's a lot of other series out there that's 2-1, and it doesn't mean that it's over. But if they lose tomorrow, it obviously is over. Final one on Rui is what would you say you think is made him so slow and kind of irrelevant so far in this series, and how important is it for him to have a good game tomorrow?
I mean, it's really important. You know, Rui Hachimura is a guy who can, as Studio Stu jumps into the scene.
Hey.
You from Lakers Nation know who this is. He's been
I saw
making
the
his
cat
appearances
before,
lately.
and the cat is back now. Okay.
He's back. He's back. He likes
That's
to get his airtime here. So I think that for Rui Hachimura, part of the issue that they've got is that where he really thrives, it's when everybody's paying attention to LeBron, to AD,
Sure.
to D'Lo,
Yep.
and to Austin, and that's where he's able to just pick his spots and see. The Lakers need this kind of will.
I know.
They see Stu is not going away. So
well, here's the other thing.
The Lakers need to
you took Stu out of the picture. Stu wants in. Stu's staying.
Yeah,
Stu's staying
like,
for the show.
I need to be here. This is where I need to be.
I thought for a second Stu was going to say something about Rui.
He might. You never. I mean,
he didn't jump up with any of the other conversations. Rui came up, and all of a sudden, Stu wanted to have a word in.
He had to have something to say about Rui Hachimura, and Rui needs to be more determined, kind of like Stu is right here. I think Rui missed a lot of opportunities he normally makes. We saw that in game 2, and that was unfortunate. He's got to get going. He's got to get into a rhythm. Defensively, there were some moments out there where I thought, man, they'd probably be better off with Torian out there right now. And I haven't thought that very often this season. I think Rui, for a guy who's known as being a postseason performer, for a guy who's known as being as a guy who steps it up in the playoffs, he hasn't really done that in this series. Again, missed a lot of stuff at the rim. I expect opportunities to be there for him tomorrow. I think he's going to come through because we've seen it from him before. I think he's going to step up in tomorrow's game. He's been one of the better three-point shooters in the league, been 12th in the NBA in three-point percentage on the season, which is incredible. I think he's due for a big game, and I do think we're going to get that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think a little home cooking is going to help him. I think that will play benefit to him. But I'm with you. Listen, I was saying that actually on the radio that there were portions of that game in game 2 where I'm like, nah, I'd rather have Torian in. I thought Torian was less worried about it. Cat is in, man.
He's actually going after the mic at this point.
That's awesome, Stu. Stu, good work out of you. Go work out of you there. Okay.
This is usually his spot. Yeah, he'll lay down right there and just and chill for a little bit. He's named after Stu Lance, by the way.
I'll tell Stu tomorrow.
He is a Lakers cat.
When I see Stu tomorrow at the game, I'm going to say, listen, I just want you to know there's a cat on Lakers Nation that is named after you. We'll see what his response is there.
Let me know what he says, because I've got 2 of them. His is the only one that comes in the studio, but the other one is Chick. So
come on now. Right now, if Stu says nothing to me and looks at me like this guy is crazy, then I'll just probably won't ever bring it up again. So we'll see how it goes.
Then tell him, if Stu looks at you like it's crazy, say the cat belongs to Sean or something.
I like it. All right, I'll keep you posted on that. Trev, I appreciate you doing this, brother. I know you got some other stuff that you're going to be doing right now too, but thank you for hopping on. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll catch you a little bit later in the playoffs, and hopefully we're still playing here in a few more days, but thank you for doing this. All right, bud?
Hey, thank you for having me, Alan. I appreciate it. Always a blast to talk Lakers basketball with you.
Yes, sir. All right, buddy. That's Trevor Lane, Lakers Nation. Thank you, Trev. Thank you, Trev. All right, so we're gonna keep going here, and I'm gonna look at some of these comments here. Let me just change this up here real quick so that now we got one person in here. Okay, there we go. All right, Trevor Lane, the man, good dude. By the way, for those who are here, appreciate you guys hanging out. Every time we got a guest on, I know I don't really get a chance to look at the comments, but I'm gonna go through some of these comments right here. How about his cat? Cat's his name, Stu. See Stu tomorrow. Stu's gonna be like, "What the hell is going on?" Okay, so we got through a lot of comments here. There's still a couple things that I want to do. I do want to walk through some of these comments here, but let me start off with this. I want to go back to that quote. I think you guys heard me doing it, and I really didn't get that much time to talk about it. But when we got to see that Darvin Ham quote from earlier, let me see this. I'm going to type in the subject here so we could have it. I want to walk you guys through this real quick because share my screen here on ESPN. Let's walk through that quote. Listen, in my opinion, the biggest news that came out of the game, other than the Lakers losing, was Anthony Davis after the game saying, "We have stretches where we just don't know what's going on both ends of the floor." So we got a chance, obviously, to see that right after the game. We have stretches. Think about this. Anthony Davis, the second best player on your team, has a quote that says, "We have," or best player on your team. Actually, I don't even know why I said second best player. For what he does on both sides of the floor, many nights he's the best player. We have stretches where we just don't know what we're doing on both ends of the floor. So I've been kind of waiting here. What's Darvin Ham going to say? Kind of walk through this a little bit. This one will take a little bit longer to walk through, but with Trev, I was trying to kind of jam in all these different questions here. But here's what Darvin Ham said. I mean, I just think sometimes when plays don't turn out the way you think they should, then the frustration sets in a little bit. Okay, we'll go past all that. I just chalk that up to being frustrated. It's an emotional game, the way it ended and all of that. Then he says, "But I'll agree to disagree on that one." You know what he doesn't say in this thing? Do you know at no time here what does not happen in this conversation with let me get that back up here. That conversation that he's having with the media. You know what is not brought up at any point is, guys, let me squash this right here. This isn't a thing. Anthony Davis and I talked about this. There's nothing here. AD was just frustrated in the moment, little miscommunication, but AD knows what we're doing here. AD knows that we obviously understand what's going on. No. I'll agree to disagree on that one. He's disagreeing with Anthony Davis saying we have stretches where we just don't know what we're doing on both ends of the floor. Listen, if I'm asking the question to Darvin Ham, "Hey, Darvin, didn't really feel like you guys knew what the hell was going on there," or in a more professional way, "Darvin, it didn't feel like you guys had stretches in that game where it didn't feel like you guys knew what was going on both ends of the floor." He could stare at me and just say, "Well, that's a cool observation, but I'm going to go ahead and agree to disagree on that one." And in a nice, polite way, basically saying, "What the hell are you talking about?" I didn't say that. A fan didn't say that. Anthony Davis said that. AD is the one that said we have stretches where we just don't know what we're doing on both sides of the floor. It's just interesting listening to Trev because he brought something up that I thought was kind of fascinating, to be honest with you. When I asked the question about what do we got to see tomorrow, and he said that you got to see fight. I'm like, so does that mean you don't know if they're going to fight? And he said he had a little bit of doubt. The optics of what's happened here in these last couple of days, aside from losing the game, it's how you lost it, right? That you were up 20 points. It's what happened after the game. Some of these post-game comments. It doesn't feel like everyone was on the same page. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration setting in. There's the frustration with the replays and the fouls and all that other stuff. It's not like it was a regular loss. There was a lot more that went into it. I don't know. I'm just not crazy about this quote. I'm really not. I'm not crazy about the quote. I don't feel like anything got solved. I feel like Anthony Davis said something in the heat of the moment because he probably felt that way. And watching on TV, it made a whole lot of sense. I didn't know what the hell they were doing in that second half as well. So that's an interesting one from Darvin Ham. I saw that. I think everybody saw that report. Anthony Irwin had put this out about report on Darvin Ham returning next season, potentially this, that whatever happens in the playoffs is not going to determine whether he comes back or not. We'll see. I don't think there's literally any reason to already be having those conversations, but that part concerns me as well. What would be the justification for that? Do you feel like something different is going to happen next year? And I don't know if I feel that way. Okay, let me get some of these comments here. I know we got a lot. Lakers should play out of AD post-ups all night. He can eat on offense until they start to double, and then you can get them in rotation for open threes. How about this? Here's my idea for Anthony Davis. By the way, Purple and Gold, I appreciate the super. Best chance you got of me reading some of these comments here just because there's so many right now. I encourage you to throw in a super, but don't feel obligated. How about this for Anthony Davis? This is what I was trying to get out of Trevor Lane was I don't want to hear that it's on Darvin Ham to give AD the ball, that it's on LeBron James to give AD the ball. Does it help if they're obviously the facilitators or Darvin Ham is drawing up a play or LeBron is saying, hey, get your ass down in the post. I'm going to feed you the ball. Of course it does. Of course that helps. Of course that's how it should be. But the first person for me, it falls squarely on Anthony Davis. I did this. I did my radio show yesterday. I thought it was live streaming on my YouTube as well. It was only on 710 ESPN, so I didn't realize that till this morning. I put it up late. So anyways, that full hour I posted a little bit earlier today. I put a lot of that blame on Anthony Davis. So purple and gold. I love the play out of AD post-ups all night. He can eat on offense till they start to double. Then you get rotation for open threes. I'm good for all that. But what can't happen is one of the best players in the world who was unbelievable through the first three quarters takes one shot in the fourth quarter when your squad's not scoring. It's not like the Lakers had 125 points and D'Lo's hitting threes and Reeves is hitting threes and Rui is slashing to the basket and Taurean Prince is getting buckets. They couldn't score a bucket, and Anthony Davis takes 1-3. All right, Trevion Perry, watch what Mark Jackson said on the show about Ham. Okay, I haven't seen this, so if you want to give me some more details on it, feel free to, but I have not seen it. So if anybody out there, feel free to share some of that, but I did not see any of that. All right, let me read some of these comments here. I want to look at some of these comments here. Appreciate you guys hanging out on Wednesday night, the night before the Lakers take on the Denver Nuggets for Game 3. It's going to be at Crypto tomorrow. I'll be there for the game. I'll be doing the pregame show on 710 ESPN. So let me take a quick look here. After Game 2, I've banned myself from watching Game 3 and 4. All right, well, if you've banned yourself, if that's what you've done to yourself, you could come here after the game and I got your back. We'll give you a full post-game show. That Murray game winner was heartbreaking. No question about it. I was trying to look at, I spent some time trying to look at, all right, what are the worst losses in Lakers history for me as a fan? I remember a game in 2003. Lakers were trying to get to the NBA Finals 4 years in a row. They were down 20-plus points in Game 5 at San Antonio. This is the Kobe and Shaq years. They're down 20-plus points. Lakers come all the way back. They get it down to 2 points. And Robert Horry takes a three basically at the buzzer. The ball rims in, rims out. Lakers lose that game. They go down 3-2. They get blown out in the next game at Crypto.com. The chance to four-peat was over. Obviously, 2008, Lakers and the Celtics. You guys remember that game, so I think everybody's got their fair share of this. Sean says, I think you have the best passer in AD cooking, so you run a pick and roll for the rest of the game with LeBron and AD. But you also got to keep it fresh. You can't just do the same thing the entire time. The Denver Nuggets don't do the same thing the entire game. I feel like the Lakers, and this is, listen, I don't think this is a problem that's going to get solved tomorrow. The problem with the Lakers, they have issues that I just don't think are going to get solved in a series against the Denver Nuggets. Is the coaching, is Darvin Ham all of a sudden going to figure out a plan B, C, and D? Is he going to all of a sudden become a really, really good in-game? Is he going to all of a sudden start making great in-game adjustments? I don't have confidence in that. I don't. Is all of a sudden their bench, do you have faith Dinwiddie and Gabe Vincent and Taurean Prince are all of a sudden going to be able to give you 25 points tomorrow night? I really don't. I think the thing of all the things, I think Rui having a good game is most likely of anything that can happen tomorrow. All right, let's take another look here. Darvin Ham can sweet talk and defer his way from any accountability. That's how he got the job. Well, no matter what, you get exposed during certain times. So Justin, unfortunately right now, he's going up against arguably the best team in the NBA. He's going up against one of the best coaches in the NBA. And, yeah, that's not going good. All right, see what else we got here. Let's Let's see. Denver 3-peat, Lakers defeat. All right. Not sure where that is. Jokic just bumping AD to the basket and flipping it. Jokic was basically playing as if he didn't, like he wasn't even there. Literally like he wasn't even there. Trevor's cat can coach better than Ham. Okay, here we go. Even Stu knows what he's doing. Not so Ham. All right, guys. All right, I got it. Ham lose this series against the Denver Chicken Nuggets. Coaching college basketball, coaching basketball. All right. Basically, obviously, a lot of people here not feeling all that crazy about Darvin Ham. I think that's a good way to put it. Let me say this. Let me read this one here real quick. The last shot was not a heartbreaker. Lucky shot that could have never been an issue. And if it doesn't go in, game is still tied, and they would have lost in overtime the way they were playing. Yo, Mark, I don't know if it was a lucky shot just because we've seen Jamal Murray make big-time shots. Let me use as an example. Jamal Murray hit a shot the possession before that got the game tied. Do you think that one was lucky? Because I don't. Jamal Murray had 14 points in the fourth quarter. Do you think that was lucky? Because I don't. Jamal Murray last year in game 2 at Denver had 23, 24 points in the fourth quarter. They weren't lucky. He's a clutch player. And luck is I just got the ball, there's 2 seconds left, and I just kind of heave it up. Or I shoot it over, it's a fadeaway over 2 people, and it's from 25 feet. He kept saying post-game show he was going to get to a spot. He got to a spot, and he hit the shot. So I disagree with the lucky part of it. I think Jamal Murray is just a fantastic player that is even better when the moment is big. So I don't agree with it was lucky. Now, the point about Lakers would probably have just lost in overtime, that part I agree with you. That part I agree. The inevitable was going to happen. It felt like if Denver could get the game to overtime, that was bad news for the Lakers because more time wasn't going to help the Lakers. They were basically spending the entire fourth quarter trying to get the hell, trying to end that game and watching the clock. So that portion, I agree with you. All right. I'm going to do a quick little preview here for I'm not going to talk too much about it, but there's a couple things that I want to point out here. So I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a lot of reports over the last couple of days that Jared Vanderbilt, I'm going to actually find the exact one here, that Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood were probably going to come back in game 3. And they're reporters that basically don't miss. Unfortunately for the Lakers, that's not going to be the case. So Christian Wood rolled out for game 3. They sent us that status report a couple hours. It came out a couple hours ago. Christian Wood was on there for being out. Jared Vanderbilt is out as well. And then Cam Reddish is out as well. So all 3 of those guys will not be available for the Lakers. So if you thought some help was coming, it's not coming in game 3. And I've said this before. I think I said this the last time we did a show. Can't remember. I think I was doing it on my radio show yesterday. But it is not something that it's almost not fair to those guys. It's not fair to those players that if they did come back, great, awesome. You know what? There's another body. But are you expecting Jared Vanderbilt to be the Jared Vanderbilt during last year's playoff run? In the middle of the playoffs when he hasn't played a game since February 1st against the Denver Nuggets in game 3? I'm not. Are you expecting that from Christian Wood? I'm not. Little unfair to have any expectations for them, but if they were available, I'd rather have them available than not available. So I think that part is, obviously important, but Vando and Christian Wood both out for game 3 tomorrow. So just keep that one in mind. The last thing I'll say, and I think this kind of goes back to yesterday's game, and I'm going to read a few more of these as well. The last thing I'll say about just the game coming up tomorrow, I don't really feel like Denver's played their best basketball yet, which is obviously worrisome because I think there's a lot of times what we're saying right now is, well, if the Lakers get Rui to play better and if You get some of these other bench players involved. And if Austin Reeves can do this, I think we're all saying that. We're talking obviously about the Lakers, and we're talking about how in their situation, their position, that they can be better. I just want to kind of remind people, I don't really feel like Denver's played all that great as well. And when they have a game, I'll give you an example. They shot 23% from the three-point line in game 2. Denver's going to have a game where they shoot well from the three-point line. And if it comes tomorrow and, Jamal Murray doesn't go, I think Jamal Murray was 9 of 24. Jamal Murray could have a game where he's 14 of 24, right? That's not out of the ordinary. The issue that I have with tomorrow's game is I don't feel like they've played their best game either. Jamal Murray didn't hit a 3 yesterday. He was 0 for 5 from the three-point line. Now Porter hit 6 of them, so that just says something. My concern for tomorrow's game is Lakers we're up 12 in the first game. We're up 20 in the second game. What happens when you have a game where it's actually the Denver Nuggets that punch first and they go up by 8 or 10 or 12? I've seen what the Lakers look like when they're discouraged. I've seen what the Lakers look like when things aren't going their way. I've seen what the Lakers look like when plan A didn't work. Or plan A stopped working and they don't have a plan B. What happens when Denver has a lead early on? So a little bit concerned there. I'll go back to something Trevor said, and I do agree with, so much of this game. What's the atmosphere there? Are you able to get your fans into the game right out the gate? And from there, if you're able to make that happen, how much can the Lakers ride some of that momentum? But you got to grab one game. If you could just get game 3, then it's 2-1, and Lakers can worry about it from there. All right, another one here. Big picture, you lose this series. What do you do this summer to fix the team? Blow it up, make minor changes, draft Bonnie. How do we get better? Sean, I appreciate the super. I don't think they're going to blow anything up. I think they're going to make tweaks. I think they're going to make changes. I don't think it's a lock that, I'd have a difficult time if just saying, hey, just bring back Darvin Ham. Depends what coaches are out there. I have a difficult time also saying, what's D'Angelo Russell going to do? Are the Lakers going to go for a third star? What players do you want to keep that are on one-year deals? Are there any other players out there that you could try to entice to come? I've heard the rumors about Trae Young. I think, Sean, there's a lot of questions of what happens when this series is over, if and when it's over in the next, few days or so. But I don't think anybody's blown anything up. I don't. And, LeBron does have a player option, so that's going to obviously play a big piece of it as well. Okay, what do we do? A little under an hour here. All right, well, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Laker fans, I got some more radio to do tomorrow. Got the pregame tomorrow. I'll do the postgame show as well. Tomorrow morning, I'll post Sammy did a preview video specifically on the game. I'm going to post that as well. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. If you're on the channel and hanging out, I greatly appreciate if you guys can subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed this. Thank you to Trevor Lane and Lakers Nation for hanging out. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday night. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Thank you, Lake fans. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.